Alright. I like how our player will bring their weapons back out once they leave a town. Because once you go into a town, they put them away and they're like, I can't use my abilities in town.
Road's blocked. Should clear up when the storm has passed.
Alright, be honest. You hear her talk and you can't help but hear Jack, can you? So now I have a poison creeper. Hold on. You're probably like, where is it? It's underground. There it is. Think of it like a little underground companion who's kind of traveling with me. And anytime I encounter an enemy, it's going to hurt it. Like right now, you see that? It saw the bear and it's immediately attacking it and poisoning it. I haven't even engaged it in a battle yet. But it's just already poisoning it. Which is pretty nice. Also, you don't normally start off with 9 potions. As you get more rewards, like renown rewards and such, you will increase your potion capacity. And of course, you can be able to upgrade your potions as well. It's an interesting idea because I recall that not really being a thing in the previous games, but it is an interesting idea for you to work towards. In Diablo 3, gold became dirt, as in, like, you had so much of it. Like, you could, you know, do a lot of stuff with it, which was fine because there should be gold sinks. Especially if you're going to be getting an absurd amount of it, you should be able to have stuff to sink it into. Like transmog and other stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I also love having the wolves as my companions, but this poison creeper is just so good. It's hard to pass up on it. I almost kind of start to forget about caring about how some of the gear looks on the Druid if you're going to go with a shape-shifting build, because you're not really going to see me ever whack an enemy with this mace. You're always going to see me attack them as a werebear. Oops. Got stuck on that pillar there for a moment. Gosh, I am telling you guys, I have done this dungeon so many times. I did it back during the beta, during the server slam, and of course I've been doing it, trying out each of the different classes. The first time I did this, I'm trying to remember if the beta or the server slam were first, which one was first, but whichever one was first, oh my gosh, guys.
Demons.
That was an experience. But of course, it usually is when you're trying something out for the first time and you're not really sure what to expect or what's going to happen. Once you get more used to it, and you reach a point like I have, where it's like, you know, I've obviously beaten the campaign already and I have some bonuses that you get via endgame that are obviously making my ult stronger, which I'm in favor of, by the way. I'm glad that this kind of thing is the case. So there's the immobilize from the creeper. Creeper. Alright. So now I'm going to also grab Earthen Bulwark, and I'm going to take... So you press S to bring up the skills you have. I'm going to take this off. And put this here, because then I'm going to make room for the other bear skills I'm going to get later. Because, believe it or not, Earthen Bulwark is pretty nice because you can use it even when you're a bear. Which is really nice if, let's say, you're going to be as a werebear, as a tank, and you're running with a group. Now, it's not the only tank spec in the game, basically, because you can tank as a barbarian, for example, but you gotta definitely get some stuff to really help you out with that. It's very clear, though, that when they were making the werebear, that they were clearly anticipating that some people were going to be wanting to use it, like, as a tank for a group. In fact, one of my favorite runs for this game I ever saw was when MF Pallytime did a Druid relay with some friends of his, including his girlfriend, as each of them were playing as a Druid, and they were all playing on hardcore. And what they were doing was they were each playing a different way that you can play the class. Pally was playing as a werebear, one was playing as Earth, one was playing as... was focused on Earth, one was focused on Storm, and the other was focused as a werewolf. So you could see all four of them kind of like doing their thing. It was really cool to see. I really enjoyed it. And you could just see, like, when Pally was playing, that he was able to really spec into stuff to really make himself very tanky. And I will admit that that's something that really appealed to me here, because I do the same thing as on my Druid in World of Warcraft. My Druid in World of Warcraft has mainly been a bear tank Druid for quite some time, especially ever since I got the werebear skin from the Mage Tower. Because there's just something about running around as a werebear tanking for your team that just has this appeal to me. I don't really know how to describe it or put into words, but that's just how it feels. At least for me. So when I realized you could do the same thing here, now, werebear was a thing obviously in Diablo 2, but obviously it looked and felt a little different then compared to here. By the way, you can see what I'm talking about when I talk about the influence of Diablo 2 on this game, because we've got the Fallen Shamans from Diablo 2. A lot of the design when it comes to, like, the enemies and such is clearly focused on, like, I guess you could call it almost like an homage to Diablo 2.
Low on spirit.
More damage reduction as a werebear. You can see what I'm talking about when you can clearly see the talent set. Like, yeah, you could definitely be a tanky character as a werebear. Now, I've actually been looking up videos of guides for builds for druids throughout the game, and there were definitely a couple of ones that caught my attention, especially when it came to werebear, and a few that when it came to werewolf. I saw that there's definitely a build for the 70+ tier 4 when it comes to playing as a werewolf. Didn't really see one for werebear, but I'd like to think there is definitely one that you can do for Torment as a werebear. I'm not entirely sure about that yet, but I'd like to hope it's going to be the case, but I won't be able to really know until I actually get this character to the end game myself later on. And it may end up taking over my Barbarian as my actual main in this game. I'm not entirely sure, but let's just say I kind of like the idea of having a werebear druid be my main in this game. But we'll see. We'll see how I feel about when I get there. And I could end up swapping to a werewolf instead of a werebear. Who knows? We'll see. This is another reason why I want to go ahead and play as a werebear instead of a werewolf. I was afraid I would do too much damage and end up winning these fights a little too fast. I do want to show off some of these fights. And I felt like if I be a tanky bear, I can go ahead and do that a little bit better.
I need more spirit.
So you can see the little arrows there to indicate that once you get them to a certain, past that arrow, they'll then drop more potions. So if you ever get low on potions, just get them there and it's like, oh, thank goodness, they drop more potions. That's another reason I liked grabbing Earthen Bulwark there. Like, I activated it right when he did that big thing there. You know, the big attack. Later on, I'm probably going to have to make sure I avoid that instead, but for now, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll just go ahead and pop Earthen Bulwark and just tank it. Why not?
You've returned.
Notice how she said that. I hope you were paying attention in the last part for how they were talking to us when they were like, oh, hi.
The old ruins are clear. Your town should be safe now.
Truly. Ha! By the light, you are heaven sent. Oh, I'm so sorry. We haven't any coin to offer. But we have hot stew, good company, and...
Stay for a pint.
Wash out the taste of the stew.
We'd be honored if you'd join us.
To our savior!
Remember that prophecy for later.
By mother's blood, by mother's body, So, shall you witness her glory before you die? Not ready yet.
They're coming! The whole damned village! Get up! Get up! We have to fight our way out!
There! Take them!
May the light preserve us. Lost souls!
You folks just made a big mistake. Hi, I'm a werebear. And you folks really thought you could take me on.
You are blessed like us now.
That was all of them. Light willing.
I saved your village, and this is how you thank me. So, before we continue, just to show you how messed up this is, and again, I want to give this warning one last time, just to be clear. If you don't like gore, you may want to stop. Now, you can't really see it in detail because I don't have the best machine to run this game on, so I have some of the settings turned a little down. Not entirely down. These are not on the lowest settings, but I think the texture quality is set to high instead of ultra. But so some of the textures are not always going to be in great detail. Like, obviously, that looks kind of bad in terms of the texture quality. But still, even though the textures aren't great, you can get the idea here. Like, even in Diablo 2, back in the day, before they had the resurrected version, where you could actually see a lot more things in detail. Yeah. Lots of blood, lots of bodies, lots of... I'm not the first that they brought into the shed to do this. And you're probably wondering why. Well, we're going to actually find out why. Oh, I actually got a helm already. Huh. How about that? Sometimes the luck of the drop, right? It's a Diablo game, so... Hey, hold on a second. You were that madman from the shed that they were talking to earlier. By the way, I want you to remember this guy, Yosef, okay? Remember him, okay? Just keep this guy in the back of your mind, especially for when we get to the end of the game, okay? Just remember this guy.
Madman. Those heretics drugged me after I returned from the ruins. Just like you. I came to my wits and escaped. Tried to get inside the chapel, but it was locked and... What manner of evil is this? Petals? Of blood?
They must have fed them to me.
A blasphemous ritual. How did they learn this? Perhaps the answer lies in the chapel. They kept it locked up for a reason. The key might be on that woman who was leading them.
I already have the key. Also, remember what she said to us. You are blessed like us now. Now, what did she mean by that? Well...
Blood petals. Like the ones I was fed. Is this real?
So, another warning. There are times where this game goes in a very disturbing direction.
Darkness in this place. Have a look inside, but hurry. I will prepare the torch.
What were you doing here?
Looking for the town priest. He stopped sending tithes, and I came to find out why. As I neared the village, I sensed darkness around the ruins. I went to investigate. Found the priest's body. Demons. Foolishly, I took shelter in the Vesk and ate their food. You know the rest.
So yeah, that body we found in the dungeon, that was the body of this priest. What happened to this priest? Well, you're about to see. And again, it's a little disturbing, so warning.
Shameful. Our Father has granted you a path to salvation. And yet, you stray from it at every opportunity. You drink and gamble. You covet and steal. Shameful.
Sin is their birthright. My children. The lords of hell are coming to devour our world. Salvation lies not in the light, but in you. The faith has taught you to deny your heart's desire and turned you into a prisoner within yourself. Break the chains and discover who you were meant to be. Break the chains and be beautiful in sin.
Resist! Resist her temptation! Vani, it's me. I brought your child into this world. They have awakened, Mother.
The first of many. Go to the dry steps and continue your preparations. Now, our true work begins.
begins.
You came to thank the light.
Yeah. So there's a couple things I want to mention. First of all, I'm becoming quite the fan of Anthony Howell, who is the gentleman who plays the Pale Man from that opening cinematic you saw, who welcomed Lilith back, and who, of course, was with her there just now, who said, "They have awakened, mother." Like, ever since I played Vampire, I've become quite the fan of his. I also know that he was in Elden Ring. I haven't played Elden Ring. I don't play those games. But I know he was in it. I know he played a role in it. And I've just become a fan of his voice acting. And believe it or not, he does a pretty good job as well in this game as well. As that character, I'm not going to say who it is just yet. It's a spoiler. But, yeah, he ends up being one of the better characters in this game. And, of course, his voice acting is on top notch. Where it's funny, the main character voice actors felt like they were held back. But Anthony Howell, for that character, they were like, yeah, sure. Do your thing, man. And I'm really glad they did. I would have been really upset had they held him back. The other thing I want to mention is that when it comes to the church and sanctuary in this game, and they're talking about the light and the Father, I'm going to be very clear about this. They're referring to one of the angels of the high heavens. And you'll see who when we get there later on in the story. But, yeah, let's just say that I'll tell you one thing. It's not Tyrael. In fact, we don't get to find out what happened to Tyrael in this game. Of all the things I've wanted to find out about what happened in Diablo 3 in this game, I don't find anything. Like, at all. And I'll explain more when we get to a certain character in this game, but, like, we don't know what happened to Tyrael. My guess is he's dead, because this takes place a number of years after 3. But, yeah. Yeah, so we'll talk more about this later. For now, how did I get out here?
You collapsed inside. I thought the darkness had swallowed you. I dragged you here and put this cursed place to the torch. What happened to you in there?
I saw a vision. A horned demon, she said. The lords of hell are coming. She wanted to help the people survive.
Help them.
She called them her children. And they welcomed her like a mother.
Mother? No. It cannot be.
I must report to the cathedral. Listen, there is a hermit to the northeast. A man of questionable loyalty, but he knows of the forbidden. He might be useful to us. Bring him to the cathedral in Kiovashad, and you will be in the light's favor.
Who is this hermit?
He surrounds himself with dark knowledge. Tread carefully, and pray he has not fallen to Lilith as well.
Dark knowledge, that amuses me.
Do not call her that. It is a demon, Lilith. The Gospel says that she will walk among the people, posing as the Mother of Sanctuary. If she is here, it is humankind's own sin that has brought her.
So, yeah, this guy may have saved our life, but if you can't tell, he's quite the... I hesitate to call him a zealot, but he kind of is. I would say he's more so a devoted follower, like extremely devoted, a true believer. And that comes across pretty well, if that's not obvious. So, normally, if you were playing this for the first time, you would have to go this whole way on foot. However, I get a horse, of course. which definitely makes getting around in the early game much nicer. Also, these are the Shrines of Lilith. Now you'll notice that it's not glowing red. That's because I've already activated it on this account. But again, if you're playing this for the first time, you'll activate it on your, activate it, and then it will become perma claimed for your entire account. So just to make that point clear. So definitely try, once you get around to it, try to get all of them so you can get more bonuses. Again, another horse's body cut in half, decapitated, just because it's a Diablo game. Don't question it. Gotta have the bloody gore of decapitated horses in this game for some frickin' reason. Can't not have that, right? So, you'll probably notice that, of course, we've got the extra areas, like the cellars and such. Gotta have these in a Diablo game, just like in Diablo 2 and 3. Here's something you may recognize from Diablo 3. Shrines! One of my favorite things about using the horse in this game, if you encounter enemies, you can do a leap attack. And it's always different based on your class. The Druid has that, where they slam down as a bear. It's pretty awesome. The Rogue has one where they shoot a giant volley of arrows. The Barbarian has a double slam effect. The Sorceress does a big blast of ice. And the Necromancer, I believe, has bone spikes, if I recall. Of course, can't have a Blizzard game without a lair of giant spiders. Can't have that. At some point, if I ever have the opportunity, I'm going to have a talk with some of the Blizzard developers about the amount of spiders that they love to use in these games, and be like, you know what? Look, I'm glad that you guys are realizing how many people you have that play your games that are not fond of spiders. That we'd rather not have to deal with that, because they are adding that arachnophobia mode in The War Within. Which I'm happy about, except for the fact that apparently it's going to change the Nerubians. Now, the thing is, when it comes to the Nerubians in WoW, those don't bother me, because I look at them and I don't see spiders. I know they're kind of like that, but not really to me. It's more so like if it happens with others, like, if that could be the case with other spider things in the game, sure, but I don't necessarily need it for the Nerubians. Now, I wish that was the case in this game, though. Where's the arachnophobia mode for this game? So I don't have to see those spiders there, There's a reason I get, like, those mods for games like Skyrim or Dragon Age that replaces the spiders with things that aren't spiders. Where is that for this game, I know it's a Diablo game, but come on. I have a feeling that's going to be everyone's excuse. Like, oh, well, it's a Diablo game. You're supposed to be scared. Or blah, 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 blah. And to me, at that point, that's all it would be. It's just an excuse. Like, it should be an accommodating option for players, but they're not going to do it because Diablo game. So you go along this path and, oh, hello. A cabin. I wonder if this is where that hermit is. Ooh, yellow pants. I'm just wrecking all of his stuff. He's like, excuse me, dude, you mind not wrecking my barrels? But there's gold in them, yeah, and they're my gold. An odd assortment of empty bottles. Some of them still reek of strong spirits. Mm-hmm. Also, I forgot I have a point. Let's see. Another way to be unstoppable when I use Bulwark. Very nice. Excuse me. Knock, knock.
Is anyone here?
Whatever is brewing smells awful. Mortar and pestle, a healer's tools. They look freshly used. Jars. Herbs, mushrooms, organs. Not for cooking. A bookshelf.
What are you hiding back here?
Behind the bookcase. A rustic trap. Coated in dried blood. Is this intended to catch beast or human? Scattered books.
Short fangs. Young. Freshly turned. An easy kill. Further south than the others. They're spreading.
A strange skull.
If you're going to trespass into my home, rifle through my things, then at least have the decency to join me for supper. I'm bloody hungry.
That's quite the story.
I wish it wasn't true, but it is. Why did I have that vision?
Thank those friendly villagers. They gave you the blood of Lilith.
The blood of a demon.
Not just any demon. The daughter of hatred. The mother of sanctuary. She was banished ages ago. But this world is her creation. It was prophesied she would come back.
What does she want?
That's the question. Sanctuary has always been trapped amid the eternal conflict. A war between angels and demons. But Lilith serves neither side. She has her own plans for us.
And me? Am I corrupted?
Not sure yet. But you two share a connection. What will you do about it?
Use it. Find out what she's after.
Good. Then we're in this together. Rest while you can. Then we'll start in Kiovashad. If we can't stop Lilith, we'll all be damned.
So, yes, this is Lorath. How many of you remember him? I'll be honest, it took me a bit to actually remember who this was the first time I played this. When I first tried this and I saw that this was Lorath, I was like, wait a minute, where do I know that name from? And then I realized this is the Horadrim from Reaper of Souls. This was the guy that Tyrael was basically telling us. He was the one that when Malthael showed up was yelling, "Go find the Nephilim!" And he went and found us, and then was there with us. Like, he was the one that joined us in the Blood Marshes to go after Adria. He was the one in the end game when you're doing all the bounties and such that is with Tyrael that we'll keep looking over at the lady we turn in the blood shards to. Yeah, and he was a young man back then. He's gotten some years on him now. Here's the thing, though. As much as I'm glad that there is a actual like character from Diablo 3 here to show that there's actual continuity here from Diablo 3, here's the problem. In my opinion, this would... him being Lorath makes no difference whatsoever. This could just be some random no-name old Haradrim, and nothing in the story would change. Him being Lorath from Diablo 3 never makes a difference. It's never relevant in the story. And that really irritates me. We never get to talk to him about his past. Not really. We don't get to ask him like, hey, what happened to Tyrael? We don't get to, we don't get any like legit substantial information that really shows that this is the Lorath that we interacted with in Diablo 3. I'm serious when I say, if you change his name from Lorath to just Johnny, just Johnny someone, nothing would change. It would make zero difference, and that really upsets me. I feel like they just picked Lorath just to have some kind of connection to 3 when they probably didn't want to. When I say that, when I'm keep hammering this point about how it really does feel like the developers for this game didn't want to acknowledge 3. They wanted to fully embrace 2, like having this game be like connected to, but 3. They wanted to distance themselves from 3 and forget about 3 in this game as much as possible. There is so much more of a callback and homage to Diablo 2 in this game than there is to Diablo 3. There's hardly any. And it feels blatant. It feels like it's done on purpose. Except for him. But it feels so weak that it just happens to be Lorath because he doesn't interact with anybody else from 3 that further connects this story to 3. He connects to new characters we've never heard of before. Because it just feels like the developers didn't want this to be connected to 3. And it really, really irritates me. Like, it would be one thing if it's just like, oh, well, But when it just feels so blatant throughout the entire story, it feels deliberate at that point. And when it feels deliberate, that's when it gets really upsetting.
This close to the city.
For me, anyway.
So let's see what is spreading.
I must wait a moment.
Never thought I'd live to see all this.
The inscription is badly marred by claw marks. May light of Fath Inarius do upon all Trabbit of this lantern face top it and fight. Yep. Inarius. Huh. What is this statue?
The angel Inarius. I'm sure you've heard the Cathedral of Light babbling about their Holy Father. Well, he's real. An angel walks among us. And when he learns that Lilith is here, blood will flow. They are ancient enemies. They'll drag the whole damn world into their feud unless we can stop it.
So yeah.
Let's not linger. Kiovashad lies just ahead.
Inarius is the Holy Father of the cathedral, of the church. So, we've talked about Inarius before. In fact, when I first played this, my thought was, wait a minute, he's here? Wasn't he, like, a prisoner in the Hells, last I heard? Well, apparently he got out, and he made his way here. And he made his way here because, well, let's just say he can't exactly go back to the heavens. And you're probably wondering why. To which I say, did you not remember us meeting Imperius? Do you think Imperius wants to welcome back Inarius? We saw how Imperius feels about Sanctuary and the Nephilim, which they don't bring that name up. They never say the word Nephilim once in this game. Because again, distancing themselves from 3. And there's no way that Imperius would welcome back the guy who created the Nephilim back to the heavens. As far as Imperius would be concerned, he's just as much of an enemy as Lilith. Because he's Imperius. Now, that is going to come up in the story, believe it or not, in this story. The whole Inarius can't... He hasn't been able to get back to the high heavens, but he, of course, wants to. As we gathered in the journal entries in Reaper of Souls, Inarius was, well, let's just say he was having some second thoughts about what was going on, especially when he decided to be with Lilith, which I find funny that they're referred to as ancient enemies when those two literally not only created Sanctuary together, but they had sort of a romance together. They even had a kid together. Rathma. Oh, sure, the people of Sanctuary are Lilith's children, quote-unquote, but she didn't necessarily conceive all of them. But they did conceive Rathma.
Hold. To enter the city, you must
We
first...
have no time for this.
What's this about?
To enter Kiovashad, you must perform a cleansing ritual. It's a meaningless gesture, but some people take comfort in it.
How dare you!
Just let him through, lad. I've tried for years to get Lorath to do the ritual.
Fine, but this one stays.
I'll meet you inside.
Take a piece of holy cedar wood from the shrine and inscribe it with the sin which troubles you. Then, cast it into the brazier. As the fire burns the wood, so too will the light burn away your sin.
So yeah, you can tell, like, this garden is an example of some of the fanaticism that a lot of the people in this group are when it comes to following Inarius and the light. He's just an example of how a lot of them are going to feel and come across throughout this game. I do like that this does offer you different choices, and you can pick this based on what character you're playing. So I guess, like, in the case of my Druid, like, she would probably be dealing with some of the animal instincts that she feels, especially when she becomes either a werebear or a werewolf. And it's like, anger, because sometimes becoming those can cause her to feel angry.
Anger.
Plus, this is Jack, so we know how angry Jack would get in Mass Effect, right? Alright, I did it. You happy?
Good. You must feel as though a great weight has been lifted from you. Welcome to Kiovashad.
Don't tell me how to feel, pal. Don't you just hate that when they're like, oh, you must feel so much better now, don't you? And you're just like, shut up.
So, What did you write on the little piece of wood? Something about hate or anger, perhaps? Well, it matters little, I suppose.
A horse? You going somewhere?
I'm off to the dry steppes in search of that pale man from your vision. I must know what part he plays in all this. But first, I need you to retrieve something of mine while I finish my negotiations. A merchant in the center of the city has it. Just tell him I sent you.
So Lilith's return was prophesized?
There was a prophecy, yes. It foretold the rise of the primevals, the return of Lilith and Inarius, the doom of our world. Inarius adopted the prophecy for his own selfish purposes, put it in the Cathedral of Light's gospel, and made it seem like he would be the hero to save us.
And that's why plenty of them are fanatic followers of his. So what were the villagers doing in those ruins?
Sacrificing, summoning demons, honing all the wonderful gifts that Lilith gave them.
Tell me about Inarius.
The cathedral loves to go on about him. His imprisonment in hell, his valiant escape, his glorious return here, the world he created. But they never mention how being tortured in hell for a few millennia turned you into an ass.
Yeah, no kidding.
Cracked too.
Also, he's not fond of this place either.
Cloudy eyes. This poor thing is practically crowbait.
With what you're paying, you're lucky she has 4 legs.
So this is how you unlock fast travel. So, Lorath sent me.
Ah, so the old man's finally decided to buy it back. Knowing him, he didn't mention coin, did he? If he wants his weapon, you will need to pay.
Fine. Look, I've got 17 million gold. Here's 20.
Wait. The old man sold me this too. He said he didn't need it anymore, but I think he'd want it back all the same. No charge.
Recognize that symbol? So, I'm amused that Yosef, when he was talking about, Lorath practices dark, forbidden magics, he's referring to Horadric magic. Which, can't you just hear them saying that to Deckard Cain? Like, you're doing dark, horrible, forbidden magic. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just practicing the ways of the Horadrim with my Horadric cube. I miss you, Deckard. So, I had to pay for your weapon.
Apologies.
He also gave me this amulet. What is it?
The mark of the Horadrim. An ancient order of scholars and mages, sworn to protect Sanctuary from demons. These days, we are few in number. There is another Horadrim, Donan. His breadth of knowledge about demons is equal only to his hubris.
Sounds like he could help us.
You should seek him out in Skosglen. But don't forget about the cathedral. They'll be expecting you, and they might prove to be useful allies too.
You're not coming with me?
I'm going to the dry steppes to find out who that pale man is. Join me when you can, just be careful. Your ties to Lilith, the visions you see. You are the key to finding her and stopping whatever she has planned. Sometimes our paths in life are set to collide. We just don't know it. Whether it is by accident or fate's hand, there is nothing we can do about it. The wanderer lost in the storm, fed the blood of Lilith, saved by a lone monk. Different lives and incidents drawn together. By what? Destiny? Or some greater power pulling the strings? I did not know. But at the time, I thought I had the chance to protect humanity from the daughter of hatred. The Wanderer's connection to her gave me hope. Imagine that.
You know, it would be nice to know what happened to Lorath in between 2, 3 in this game to know why he reached the point he did. We never find out. A lot of stuff we never find out. A lot of stuff just never gets resolved. And don't you just love that when they give us little bits of story and then they never give us a resolution to it? I'm saying that now just to help you avoid getting your hopes up. Because, yeah. Alright, next level I'll be able to get a Wrath skill, which will probably be Trample. I will admit, I am curious. Also, I'm also curious, did the Poison Creeper go away? Because I thought if I take it off the bar, that I wouldn't necessarily... that I would still get the passive effect, but maybe when I take it off the bar, maybe it goes away. I think so. I think that's what happens, because now you see it. Now you see the Poison Creeper like, hey, I'm here. How you doing? What's up? But when I take it off the bar, I don't see it anymore. So unfortunately, it looks like I can't do what I did, which was grab it, and then it's like, well, he'll have it, I'll have it around. So unfortunately, it looks like I would have to actually put one of these on the bar. So that's unfortunate. I'd have to choose between, because I want to have, of course, Trample here, and then we'll get Grizzling Rage as well. Because when I picked a thematic build, I like to stick with it. So I would have to be like, okay, am I gonna go with another defensive skill, or do I go with a companion skill? Which I guess maybe at this point, especially if I get the thing where the wearer does more damage to poison enemies, it might be better. So I think for now we'll just go ahead and do this. Even though I've already put the points in there, but I'll have plenty of points to be able to work around that, so. But we are now in our first main hub of the game, Kyovashad. A lot of different things that you can access here. And I'll try and go over some of them, because now the game really opens up. Now we get access to stuff. Now we also get some other quests here based on different acts. And you can see the different level scaling that recommends that you get to certain levels before you get to other certain acts. So... And we will also have access to a special class-specific quest and feature, but we don't get that until later. And I'll talk more about that when we get there. So anyways, we will continue, probably where I'll go over some of the stuff here in Kyovashad in terms of features and stuff you can do here. And then we might start doing some side quests before we make our way to like the first town. Since I like to kind of level a bit before we actually go tackle the main story stuff. And believe it or not, I find a lot of the side quests in this game to be pretty good when it comes to their story, especially since some of them are continuing quest lines. As in, once you do one side quest, it continues in another later on, which I think is really cool. In fact, there are challenges for doing entire quest lines in this game. So anyways, stay tuned.